accept the will of the majority whatever way these questions go?
I'll judge it at that time, but we'll have to see. I'm not neutral in it. I think these are the right policies for Albertans. We're going to be advocating for these positions. I mean, they are government-sponsored questions. So I'm not going to just be a bystander in this. We're going to be out actively persuading the public that this is the direction we want to go. That's the position of our government. We'll do some social media, we'll do some advertising. It's entirely appropriate that it would be government resources. So we'll be advocating very strongly for all 9 questions.
Will you accept the
Like the worst strategy I've ever heard. They suck.
We get to see the maple trees, maple sugar on the maple leaves. We got the biggest wheat fields growing tall. In Canada, where we see the reversing falls. In Canada, we get to see them all.
While this mango-tinted mob boss is demanding all kinds of concessions, including a Costco-like entrance fee to set up shop in the U.S. and other nonsense. Meanwhile, bad actors on both sides of the border have been ramping up the rhetoric over Alberta separation, and now there's been an explosion of AI-generated videos pushing the separatist message online, some of which appear to come from overseas, including apparently the Netherlands. They've dubbed these Slopaganda. They've been proliferating everywhere recently, but they don't seem to stop at Alberta. They're also targeting Saskatchewan and Manitoba, and probably Quebec too. But the timing is pretty clear, since last month the Alberta Separatist Party said it had gathered the required 178,000 votes to trigger a referendum in October on their petition.
It's being raised over fake YouTube channels targeting the separation debate. A new report from Canadian Digital Media Research identifies about 20 YouTube channels posing as Albertans pushing separation and annexation by the U.S., using the same scripts, clips, even posting at the same time, together reaching nearly 40 million views.
This is a very important year in Alberta, with the idea of a provincial referendum on the ballot being potentially held in the fall. It's important for Albertans and Canadians broadly to know which voices are real and which are fake.
The videos often use real news about Alberta separation, but distort and exaggerate the grievances, sometimes getting the facts wrong.
Anybody promoting, U.S. annexation or U.S. statehood, they're not part of our movement.
Says it's reviewing the channels and will remove content violating. Some still worry about outside influences.
There are players, I think, that are taking advantage of chaos, amping it up in order to manipulate voting.
Alberta's Justice Minister says people making AI deepfakes will be targeted by new legislation, and it will require cooperation from other areas.
The Minister of Public Safety, through the work with municipal, provincial and federal agencies like the RCMP, like the local policing detachments, are very much live to this issue, and they're working diligently to address it as well.
The minister says anything breaking Alberta's election rules is under provincial jurisdiction.
The proliferation of these unknown accounts also coincide with Danielle Smith's continued Americanization of the province, trying to privatize healthcare, gerrymandering, and wanting to interfere with the courts as well. Well, the separatist movement has been very loud and visible and gives the impression that their movement is stronger than they possibly might be, or actually are. According to an Abacus data poll that surveyed 1,000 Albertans in late February, it suggested that about a quarter of them support the province leaving, but the majority, nearly 2/3, are against it. That's a small sample, but according to the CBC, a report published Tuesday by the Canadian Digital Media Research Network analyzes channels that post videos with such titles as "Danielle Smith just announced the biggest separation in Canadian history is about to happen," and "Alberta and Saskatchewan just got officially backed by the U.S. 52nd statehood incoming." Well, these rage-baiting videos exaggerate the actual public support for independence, painting it as a foregone conclusion and making people feel helpless to stop it. But if you're in Alberta or any other affected province, you can contact your MLA by phone or email, or go to this website, forevercanadian.ca. alberta.ca/en and stay informed. Find out how you can help. According to the Media Ecosystem Observatory, MEO, a joint project between the University of Toronto and McGill University in Montreal looking into Canadian media, they've identified 20 YouTube channels as part of a coordinated network focused on separation in Western Canadian provinces and other political issues. And while the report didn't identify the individuals behind the apparent network, citing a lack of identifying information to real humans or organizations, nor ties to the secession movement in Alberta. Chris Ross, one of the report's authors, said his team couldn't confirm the origin or intent of the videos, but the digital fingerprints indicate a coordinated production. University of Calgary assistant professor Jean-Christophe Boucher, who's researched foreign interference, has tracked the videos for roughly a year and a half and was surprised to find so many AI-generated videos targeting Albertan audiences, saying, Smith says they're tracking and monitoring all disinformation, but the leader of the Alberta Prosperity Separatist Project Party, Mitch Silvestre, said that claims of foreign interference in the Alberta independence debate are overblown. He says, this foreign interference thing, as far as I'm concerned, it is a fairy tale up to this point. If they're promoting Alberta independence, that's what I do. So if the information is not accurate, then that's possibly not going to help us. But who's going to determine the accuracy of the information? That's the question. Well, stay tuned to Canadian Drain for more to come about this character.
Reported that in the build-up to the campaign, your organization visited Washington, D.C. on 3 occasions, met with some level of U.S. government officials. How did this referendum drive factor into those discussions?
Well, everybody's talking. We're talking, based on the future, based on the fact that, I understand this. We're not government. We're just going there as individual citizens. They're curious who are leading this petition. They're curious to see how that's going to work, if it's going to affect them, how it's going to affect them, and potential conversations on what could happen moving forward. But that's all going to be for another day. They just want to understand the process. They basically didn't understand the process until we cleared it up. We explained it to them. And you know what? We're just making liaisons for something that could help the new Alberta government, if that becomes the case, move forward with our largest trading partner.
The Seppies have been called traitors by BC Premier Rob Eby after they went down to meet with the U.S. without telling anyone. They had a secret meeting.
Those who would solicit a foreign government to try to come in and take over our country or break it up, that's not part of our vision for Canada. That's not Canadian conduct, and in fact, that is, I describe it as an old-fashioned word because we haven't had to use it for a long time. In my opinion, that is treasonous activity.
Legal counsel for Alberta's separatist movement say they met with U.S. State Department officials. Eby says this kind of activity needs to be stopped. Jeffrey Rath called Eby's comments dumb. He says the meeting was part of a feasibility study.
We're private citizens. We have no authority to enter into agreements on behalf of anybody in Alberta. We're not entering into any agreements with the United States. We're not funded by the United States.
And the NDP, New Democrat Party, and Forever Canadian group organization are fighting back and say that the UCP, a United Conservative Party, is delaying the Remain in Canada vote until after the October referendum.
UCP MLAs insist they're simply trying to make an informed decision about what the legislation calls for. They want to hear from Elections Alberta and the Justice Ministry and are refusing to commit to any firm timelines.
We're going to work extremely hard as a committee. We're going to make sure we're going through the proper process. Again, we want to make sure that the 400,000 Albertans who are interested in this have their voices heard.
But the NDP insists the UCP is dragging their feet to avoid exposing some of their MLAs as separatists. If a vote does not happen before May 14th, the next legislature sitting is not until October, after the referendum vote on October 19th.
In that situation, all that will happen is that the report will be tabled and there'll be no action taken by this premier or by this government, potentially ever. This is a pattern from this UCP. They delay whenever it's a voice that they don't want to listen to.
This is all happening as Alberta separatists continue to gather signatures for a petition to leave Canada. That vote could be held in October, but there are also court cases trying to shut that process down. With less than 6 months to go before a referendum date set by the Premier, this political scientist is concerned there may not be enough time for Albertans to make informed decisions.
We've got a whole lot of malign actors that are involved in this and a whole lot of anger and frustration that's coming to the surface. And I'm not sure that this process is going to help us communicate or resolve some of the problems and difficulties that Albertans are facing.
Lukaszuk is convinced the Premier will find a way to put separation on the ballot regardless of what the courts rule. He believes that will hurt Alberta's economy, but
if she's hell-bent on having a referendum, okay, bring it on.
And last week, Senatress Paula Simons of the Alberta Legislature raised the issue at the Transport and Communications meeting, discussing the opportunities and challenges of AI.
Tyee and Toronto Star both report this morning on an AI-fueled pro-separatist campaign on YouTube targeting Albertans that has had more than 40 million downloads of people watching this AI-generated pro-separatist slop. How worried do we have to be about AI's impact on our political discourse in the face of this kind of threats? Dr. Ford, yes.
Okay, sorry, thank you. Great. We should be very concerned about it. And again, this is where regulation has to play a role. We should be able to identify these threats and either have the platforms be responsible for removing them, or at least, in the very least, being able to identify what's been AI generated on mis or disinformation so that the viewers understand that what they're watching, A, was generated by AI, and B, is not truthful. I think that's where regulation comes to play a big role.
National security experts have previously warned that Alberta is not ready for the threat of online disinformation that could come from foreign actors ahead of a possible referendum on separation from Canada this fall. There was a public inquiry into foreign interference in 2025. Commissioner Hoag's final report came out after the National Security and Intelligence Committee of Parliamentarians, aka NSICOP, made up of MPs and senators with top secret security clearance, said that some parliamentarians are semi-witting or witting participants of efforts by foreign states to interfere in Canadian politics. And many MPs called on the government to release names of the parliamentarians accused of acting on behalf of a foreign power. Hoag noted that there are legitimate concerns about some parliamentarians potentially having problematic relationships with foreign officials, exercising poor judgment, behaving naively, and perhaps displaying questionable ethics. But I did not see evidence of parliamentarians conspiring with foreign states against Canada, the report concludes. While some conduct may be concerning, I did not see evidence of traitors in Parliament. While allegations of interference involving elected officials have dominated public and media discourse, the reality is that the misinformation and disinformation pose an even greater threat to democracy, she wrote. And last month, Premier Smith, Danny, said she'd started the process to seek a higher security clearance so she can receive briefings from the Canadian Security Intelligence Service, CSIS, about foreign interference in Alberta. Smith's desire for security clearance was revealed when opposition NDP leader Naheed Nenshi asked about the Alberta sheriffs, which Smith's government is turning into a full-fledged police force capable of taking over local policing duties from the RCMP. That's a story in itself. And she wants the sheriffs to have access to intelligence. She's criticized the RCMP for not being more forthcoming on potential interference or security issues when it comes to Alberta's upcoming referendum. The RCMP, she says, does not brief our government. I made that clear, and no, I'm not happy with that fact, which is why we have to go to alternative sources to be able to get intelligence, she said. We have some deficiencies, and we're going to do everything we can to fill them. Then she said he believes Smith should be disqualified from obtaining the clearance, citing what he called her lack of concern about the ongoing separation campaign in Alberta and questions he has about the Premier's trip to Saudi Arabia last fall to meet with local government officials, which was taken on a private plane. I don't know if everybody heard the story by now about Doug Ford and his private plane 360. I missed the boat on the gravy plane. Something like that. Anyhow, then she says, I sure as hell wouldn't give her security clearance. She sees nothing wrong with taking gifts from foreign actors and foreign governments. So some of these fake social media accounts of this Dutch connection, CBC News identified 3 individuals in the Netherlands whose digital trail links them to accounts that hired actors to appear on the YouTube channels. 2 of them attended the same online course that teaches customers how to create faceless YouTube channels that generate passive income for the creators who remain in the shadows. And many of them use voice actors to narrate their slop, and often without their knowledge or permission. One of them, the Canadian politician, had over 350,000 total views, with the channel introducing its host calling himself James. But James is actually Matt Berry, an actor from Calgary, that he was found by the CBC News using a reverse image search. He wasn't aware of the account until CBC contacted him, and now he says he feels violated.
I feel so violated. I think all of it's bullshit.
Matt Berry is a Canadian media personality who became the face of a YouTube channel posting misleading videos about Alberta joining the U.S.
Economic union to the United States, becoming U.S. territory.
Welcome to the Canadian Politician, your trusted source for sharp analysis and updates on the latest developments in Canadian politics.
The account was identified in this report, one of 20 similar YouTube channels with millions of views, calling them Slopaganda. Over the past few days, we unmasked some of the people behind this, partly by talking to Matt. We traced some of this activity to multiple people in the Netherlands, 2 of which took the same online course, teaching how to make money with faceless YouTube content.
I was just kind of applying it for a bunch of different gigs. The idea was that was like $20 a video to start, and then he was going to monetize the Synthesis Audition video. It didn't feel like it was worth my time, right? It didn't pay that much, so I just ignored it. And then the guy stopped messaging me, but we never came to any actual agreement. I never actually signed a contract with this guy. I forgot about it until you called me this morning and were like, you're the face of this YouTube channel.
What are you thinking when we reveal this to you?
My heart sank. You must be talking about the wrong person. I feel so violated to know that this likeness is being used for something not agreed upon. It just feels heartbreaking and devastating. This is not stuff I believe. It's shocking, but it's not surprising. I think that's sort of a world we're living in right now.
Apparently YouTube is reviewing these accounts, and a YouTube spokesperson, Zaitun Murji, said Tuesday that the website is reviewing the channels included in the Canadian Digital Media Research Network's report and will remove any content that violates its community guidelines. YouTube doesn't allow spam, scam, or other deceptive practices that take advantage of the YouTube community, said Murji via email. I don't know about you, but I've done an awful lot of reporting of suspicious and outright offensive channels in my time. Not a lot's been done, but go ahead and do it if you see them. Christopher Ross also thinks that YouTube should disclose data about the geo-targeted advertisements or other metrics that could provide more information about whether the videos are being directed at a specific region, and share information about the ownership history of the accounts. We think that these really important democratic conversations that Albertans are having should be by real Albertans with genuine concerns, not people performing an Albertan perspective, he said. And to be fair, I've encountered an increase in AI-generated pro-Canada, pro-Carney channels in my YouTube feed over the last year. Mainly pro-Canada in nature, but that's probably because of the algorithms that monitor my viewing habits. And they seem to have legitimate content information as far as I can tell, but I'd really have to look into them further. I'd suggest everyone do so if you think something is sus. And there's other concerns about this kind of targeted misinformation. There's been recent reports of insider trading gone wild at every level, everywhere, and get-rich-quick bets being placed on Polymarket and other gambling platforms. The industry can possibly influence election outcomes. According to this report on online betting, Carrie Shaw, chair of the Alberta Gambling Research Institute and assistant professor at University of Alberta, says it's possible that seeing what wagers are being placed may skew the perception of what the situation really is. What is the percentage of Albertans that really do want to separate? If they're looking at the speculative market and see that there's a lot of people, very vocal people, that are making large wagers, they may actually perceive that there's a greater percentage of people that wish to separate than there really is. Well, in her conclusion of the Commission on Foreign Interference, Commissioner Hogue calls it a stain on democracy, saying disinformation is difficult to detect and, above all, to counter since the technological means available evolve at a breakneck speed. It is noxious and it is powerful. It poses a major risk to Canadian democracy. If we do not find ways of addressing it, misinformation and disinformation have the ability to distort our discourse, change our views, and shape our society. In my view, it is no exaggeration to say that at this juncture, information manipulation, whether foreign or not, poses the single biggest risk to our democracy. It is an existential threat. Well, Danielle Smith, disinformation be thy name. And speaking of lies and disinformation, please go to change.org and sign the petition to stop the felon from coming to the June 7 G7 meeting in Canada. Elbows up.
Hey, yeah, you. Before you click away to watch someone unbox a tactical toothbrush, let's talk about something real. Political Drain isn't just another content mill. We're a digital front in a very real war. Not with bullets, but with ideas, with action, and with solidarity. We pair urgent news with critical education. And we build community around actual resistance, not the hashtag kind. The kind that moves. But here's the thing. None of this is free. It isn't. Behind every video is time, labor, research, and some weird guy asking if we're going to pay the hosting bill. And yeah, some of that money goes to things we can't necessarily say out loud. If you know, you know. Let's just say our special ops aren't Call of Duty LARPers. They're people making real moves to protect, uplift, and organize. You're not just funding a channel. You're funding a resistance network in a world where capital still calls the shots. Unfortunately, in a system built on artificial scarcity, even mutual aid has a price tag. And if we want to grow, if we want to win, we need your help. We need your help. So if you've got even a few bucks to spare, toss it our way. It's not for ads, it's not for merch drops, but for people making moves in the shadows so others can do it in the light. It's just us and you. So fund the mission, fund the fight, fund the future, because nobody's coming to save us. We save each other. That's how this works.